Hello and welcome. Tonight, President Bola Tinubu heads to Benue on Wednesday to assess the crisis in Benue State, of course. Now, the Minister of Interior, Olubomi Tunjojo, and other stakeholders call for an urgent review of the nation's security architecture. In continuation of our assessment of the Tinubu administration in the last 2 years, tonight we beam our searchlight on safety and security. And Israeli military warns people in parts of the reigning capital Tehran to evacuate as more airstrikes are reported in the city.
On business news tonight, Nigeria's headline inflation eases for the second consecutive month to 22.97% in May from 23.71% in April due to slowdown in the pace of food and utility costs.
On sports, Britain's Dan Evans eliminates American 7th seed Francis Tiafoe in straight sets in the first round at the Queen's Men's Singles Championship.
From the nation's capital, President Bola Tinubu inaugurates the Greater Abuja Water Supply Network, reaffirms his administration's commitment to sustainable infrastructure development.
President Bola Tinubu has announced his visit to Benue State on Wednesday, June the 18th, as part of renewed efforts to foster peace and address the persistent conflicts affecting communities in the state. The president, who is speaking during the commissioning of the Greater Abuja Water Supply Network in Abuja, said the visit aims to assess firsthand the recurring crisis that has claimed numerous lives and caused significant destruction. During his stay, President Bola Tinubu will meet with all stakeholders, including traditional rulers, political, religious, community leaders, and youth groups to seek lasting solutions to the hostilities. The president previously condemned the ongoing violence in the state and called on all leaders and residents to embrace peace, love, and mutual understanding. He then extended his heartfelt condolences to the families of the victims and to all those who have suffered losses as a result of the crisis.
Why I sympathize with the Benue people, I've spoken to the governor. The leadership and people of Benue should accept our condolences and tried hard, very, very consciously, to maintain peace, harmony among themselves. I've always said this, that we are one single huge family living in the same house, stay in different rooms, but living together in harmony will be the result of our diversity for prosperity. We should be able to manage our anger and frustrations. I sympathize those who have lost their life. I will adjust my program and go see Benue people on Wednesday.
Nigeria's President Bola Tinubu. Well, earlier on, the Inspector General of Police, Mr. Kayode Egbeto, confirmed the federal government's commitment to contain the killings in Benue State and bring the perpetrators to justice. Mr. Egbeto disclosed this at a meeting with the Benue State Governor, Hyacinth Alia, at the Government House, where he reiterated President Bola Tinubu's worries over the recent killings in the state. Reacting to his visit, Governor Alia appreciated the efforts of the President and security services, but then lamented the surge of attacks on vulnerable communities, which he appealed for strategies that will keep Benue residents safe.
On behalf of the Nigerian Police Force, I extend our deepest condolences to Your Excellency, your government and people of Benue State, the bereaved families, and all citizens who have been affected by this attack. I'm sure, Your Excellency, you have spoken with Mr. President on this incident. You have known how saddened Mr. President was on hearing the news of a fresh attack on another vulnerable community in Benue State, and his commitment to ensure that this reign of impunity by criminal gangs and terror elements end in our country. An attack on any community in Nigeria is an attack on the entire nation. Your Excellency, I want to assure you that the Nigerian police force will stand with you and the good people of Benue State. We are going to continue to work tirelessly with you and in close synergy with other security agencies to ensure that peace, lasting peace, return to Benue State.
The very day this carnage took place, you called to condole with us and to assure us of your support and your team. And today you're here yourself, just within days, and after this you're going to see for yourself where the incident occurred. We are bleeding. We are in sorrow. I believe your visit is going to uplift our spirits and build within us formidable assurance of the fact that we are not alone, and you continue to be there for us, to support and to do this journey together with us.
It wasn't just all about talk concerning the Benue security situation. The Inspector General of Police and the Governor, Hyacinth Alia, accompanied with the Chief of Defense Staff, General Christopher Musa, who also visited the Benue State Governor, all embarked on a tour of the Yelwata community where the carnage took place. Now, visible signs of the horrific violence stared the governor and the security chiefs in the face as they saw firsthand the magnitude of destructions there. Speaking to journalists afterwards, they spoke of a firm resolve to secure lives and property moving forward.
With His Excellency, the Governor of Benue State, and the good people of Benue State. Like the IGP mentioned, this is one too many killings. We're tired of innocent souls being killed, and we're here to ensure that we address such. From now, I'll be going to see my commanders, and we have to change our strategy. We're going to look inward and see how we can address it. But like we mentioned, we cannot do it alone without the community, without the state. We need everybody to be part of it. We understand that even before now, we used to have, even within us, people that compromise and give information, because going around, you see the way some of the burnings were made, they were targeted, and which means they had insiders. And so I've discussed with the communities, the traditional rulers, with the clergy, for us to work united. There have been some issues on trust, and that we're going to address.
When one incident happened, hundreds of incidents have been prevented that are not known to the public. So that this happened does not mean that we have not been deploying. We have actually been deploying. We've been working together with the military and with other security agencies to ensure that this reign of impunity of these criminal elements ends, and we are committed to this. This attack on the peaceful Yelewata community is one attack too many. It is not just an attack on the people of Benue State. It's an attack on the entire nation. And we are not going to accept it.
Now, in the light of growing insecurity, particularly what we're witnessing in Benue State, well, the Minister of Interior, Olubomi Tunjojo, is calling for urgent security reforms. Now, speaking at the Constitution Review Dialogue on National Security Architecture in Abuja, the minister said the dependence on the military for internal security shows the failure of civil agencies. He also raised concerns about the underfunding of the police, noting that without adequate resources, training and equipment, law enforcement cannot function effectively. Our correspondent Benny Ark reports.
This is the National Security Dialogue, organized by the House of Representatives under the theme Nigeria's Peace and Security, the Constitutional Imperatives. The focus is on state policing, agency reform, and border protection. In attendance were President Bola Tinubu, represented by the Minister of Defense, the Speaker, represented by the Majority Leader, lawmakers, security agencies, including Office of the National Security Advisor, Defense Headquarters, Police, Department of State Service, along with civil society groups, security experts, and community leaders.
We are joined today by representatives from the diplomatic corps, civil society, the media, and most importantly, the communities are most affected by insecurity. Your voices and insights are essential as we seek to craft solutions that are both effective and inclusive.
It is only through inclusive, consultative, and transparent processes such as this that we can truly build a constitution that strengthens our federation and enhances our national security.
Calls were made for urgent reforms and better security coordination.
Rule of evidence is high time we look at it once again to match up with emerging technologies. Very, very key. The second area I want to draw our attention to is also the issue of the porosity nature of our borders. The kind of, the way, the influx of foreigners into our country and suspected criminals.
You can't rule out the fact that border security is critical to regional stability. They are linked because the stability of your neighbors talks a lot about your own stability as well. And if you cannot manage that, how do you manage your own borders? So I think it's food for thoughts for us today to actually see how best we can make sure that NIS is captured as an agency fully in charge of not just border security, border governance, but also migration management.
When we talk about security, internal security, the first thing that comes to a Nigerian mind is the military. That is a sign of failure of our internal security agencies. Let's tell ourselves the truth. So for me, the police, in terms of adequate funding, I do not see a reason why our police, for instance, should even rely on budgetary allocation.
The Interior Minister also called for reforms to replace failing structures in security agencies.
There are some of our agencies that were formed under the military, that the rationale and the justification of their formation at this stage has moved beyond that. We cannot continue to service agencies that are not meeting our needs in the 21st century.
The Defense Minister represented President Bola Tinubu. He reaffirmed the government's commitment to national security.
The executive branch stands ready to work with the legislature, the security services, and all stakeholders to give those reforms constitutional force and legitimacy. Distinguished participants, let history record that in this chamber, on this day, Nigerians leaders choose courage over caution, vision over fear, and reforms over inertia.
The message of the dialogue is clear. Nigeria needs urgent, meaningful security reforms to protect its borders, lives, and restore public trust. Benny Ark, Channels Television News.
In part two, after the break, Vice President Kashim Shettima tasked government institutions in Africa to utilize the government sovereign wealth funds for the benefit of all. Welcome back. If you have just joined us, you're watching the news at 10 on Channels Television, broadcasting live from Lagos. A reminder of our top stories. President Bola Tinubu heads to Benue on Wednesday to assess the crisis in the state. Minister of Interior Olubunmi Tunji-Ojo and other stakeholders call for an urgent review of the nation's security architecture. And Israeli military warns people in parts of the Iranian capital Tehran to evacuate as more airstrikes are reported in the city. As President Bola Tinubu marks his second year in office, tonight we turn our attention to security, one of the most pressing issues under the Bola Tinubu administration. In this special report, we explore the multifaceted threats facing the country and the efforts made by the administration to address the safety and security concerns of Nigerians.
It is 2 years since President Bola Tinubu assumed office with what some Nigerians describe as an inherited complex security crisis.
Good morning.
The administration believes it has responded with increased funding, structural reforms and technological advancements, which has been attributed to the degrading of the camp of the insurgents. However, the evolving forms of insecurity across the country has led to the emergence of threats in the form of banditry and kidnapping in the northwest and north-central, insurgency in the northeast, separatist agitations in the southeast, crude oil theft in the Niger Delta region, among others. The military attributes the emergent dimensions of insecurity in the country to infiltration by foreign mercenaries.
It is not the terrorists against the armed forces. It is the terrorists against Nigeria as a nation. So once we begin to understand this and have a common front, I think we will be able to make a very tangible headway.
Exploring government efforts beyond military action, such as community engagement, addressing root causes and peace-building initiatives, is at the center of the non-kinetic approach by the military. Combating specific threats like crude oil theft and banditry dominates the agenda of the Nigerian Navy.
We have what we call our total spectrum maritime strategy, which identifies our operations to be conducted in 5 spectrums. One of those spectrums is land operations.
Community and political leaders from affected communities share their thoughts and efforts being made to contain the menace.
We succeeded in actually bringing our people down to these communities while we resettle them. But the whole thing to say we guarantee or we can assure is that we have to collaborate with other stakeholders like the military.
I think some parts of the country perhaps have enjoyed some relative peace, but on the other hand, our area in Kogi State, which is the Benue of Kababunu local government of Kogi State, insecurity in the last 2 years has really gone very bad. The situation is that I can go to my community today.
The military believes more needs to be done to achieve national stability and sustainable peace across the country, especially border management to check the influx of illegal arms and ammunition, as well as illegal immigrants. Beyond the challenges, the military is recording some successes.
Between 6 to 10 June as well, the troops in conjunction with security agencies and hybrid forces conducted offensive operations in Goza, Ngala and Marte local government areas of Borno State, as well as Bade and Gujima local government areas of Yobe State. During these operations, some terrorists were eliminated, while one drug peddler was arrested as well.
The persistent issues of ongoing insecurity and high unemployment rates call for more transparency and specific policy adjustments to address the challenge.
I want to see more economic reform in practical terms, from the top to the bottom. What I mean from the top to the bottom is that more effort is needed to bring the dividends to the common man. As we speak today, Nigeria is still borrowing money. Even after the removal of subsidy, the president promised that after the removal of subsidy, that Nigeria was going to begin to enjoy a new dawn of infrastructural development across board. But as we speak today, nothing.
Hopes and concerns regarding the current administration's leadership are equally shared.
We have spent 2 years trying to re-strategize. Now as we enter, let there be dividends coming out. Let it not be another long year, another time. Start doing technocrats issues or bureaucracy again, but practical issues that will bring practical results.
Although the current security strategies appear holistic, the belief is that the key to ending insecurity is to address the root causes through critical policy gaps for sustainable peace.
Economic development is at the forefront of discussions yet again, and this time Vice President Kashim Shettima has stressed that collective action is what Africa needs to achieve this goal. Vice President Shettima, who gave the advice at the opening ceremony of the 4th Annual African Sovereign Wealth Investment Forum, also urged government institutions to utilize the continent's sovereign wealth funds with sound financial discipline for the benefit of all. Our correspondent Sarah Chimugu reports.
It's the 4th Annual African Sovereign Wealth Investment Forum, as representatives of 17 member countries of the African Sovereign Investment Forum converge on the nation's capital.
Ultimately to Europe.
This time, the goal is to foster collaborations that will yield to more investment for the continent.
Over the course of this meeting, we shall be focusing on how, through effective domestic, continental, and global partnerships, African sovereign wealth funds can, on balance, achieve 3 things.
Today, we will be laying the first stones of a unique sovereign-led initiative to attract patient capital and contribute to closing Africa's funding gap as promised 3 years ago.
It is estimated that about 1.4 billion people live in Africa, and almost 60% of the population consists of youths. While this remains an asset for both trade and investment, the potentials are yet to be harnessed.
The philosophical foundations and perhaps conventional wisdom that underpins the policy and operations of many African sovereign wealth. My view is that by making these changes that we can hope to bring the power of African sovereign wealth funds to bear on delivering economic prosperity for our people. I will, time permitting, also take the opportunity to discuss how Africa can forge a strong partnership with African sovereign wealth funds towards propelling industrialization and trade.
In this transactional world that is narrowing the focus of Africa, the focus of regional transactions, the focus of continental, Africa-wide transactions is becoming even more acute. Just last year, while I was chair of the Africa Caucus at the World Bank and IMF group, we did launch a US dollar denominated domestic bond.
Government efforts to push for more investment on the continent is highlighted.
Strengthening our climate resilience, promoting food security through agricultural innovation, supporting micro, small and medium enterprises, or embracing the digital economy to create jobs and expand opportunities. None of this is possible without catalytic institutions that combine strategic foresight with sound financial discipline.
The 2-day event is expected to come up with resolutions on how to mobilize resources for the region's socio-economic development. Sarah Chimugu, Channels Television News.
So let's head to the nation's capital now, and Gloria Mizoke is standing by to give us the latest from our Abuja studios. Over to you, Gloria.
Thank you, Ayo. We begin with some cheery news for residents in the nation's capital, as President Bola Tinubu commissioned today the Greater Abuja Water Supply Network. He pledged his administration's commitment to sustainable infrastructure that directly improves the lives of citizens. Speaking at the commissioning, the president described the water network as a transformative effort to guarantee safe, sustainable, and sufficient water across the capital city. Our State House correspondent, Larry Lasisi, reports.
Set of commissioning by the administration of the Federal Capital Territory.
It is for the completion of the Greater Abuja Water Supply Project, which was awarded in 2017 for over $470 million. Present are top officials of the Federal Capital Territory, some members of the National Assembly, some former governors and other guests. With President Bola Tinubu present, the event kicks off. A brief background is provided for the project, which was funded on a counterpart basis with 85% by the Exim Bank of China.
Your Excellency, the Greater Abuja Water Supply Project therefore involves the construction of water supply pipe network loops 1, 2, 5, and 6 in line with the provisions of the master plan.
The successful completion of this project well demonstrates China's consistent, unwavering support to Nigeria's infrastructure development and the social-economic progress.
The Minister of the FCT says other water projects are in the pipeline.
I want to say today that we almost completed the procurement process to give water to Buhari, give water to Kubwa, give water to Karu and some of the communities. So you are not only providing water to the city, you are also providing water to the satellite town. We sincerely thank you and I assure you that this project will be completed on time. It will not take like this one that took 8 years.
President Tinubu emphasizes the importance of this project.
When we speak of Renew Hope agenda, this is what we mean. Tangible, people-focused project that improve the daily lives of ordinary Nigerians. Water to drink, to clean, to grow, to build. That is the real project. It's straight up, it's a treasure that we always take for granted.
It is then time for the commissioning. This project is set to triple the city's water supply capacity and is expected to serve over 2.5 million residents across about 50 districts in the FCT. Lanre Lasese, Channels Television News.
Still ahead on the news at 10, Nigeria's headline inflation eases for the second consecutive month to 22.97% in May from 23.7%, 1% in April, owing to slowdown in the pace of food and utility costs. But that's some business news. Just join us again. Welcome back. You're still watching the news at 10, coming to you live on Channels Television. The Executive Director and Chief Risk Officer at Fidelity Bank, Mr. Kevin Ogwoke, has emerged as the new President and Chairman of Council of the Chartered Risk Management Institute. At the official conferment and handover ceremony in Lagos, Mr. Ogwoke shared his commitment to advancing professional standards and driving greater industry impact in challenging economic times. The event also saw the swearing-in of a new governing council and the conferment of honors on distinguished members.
It's transition day and members of the Chartered Risk Management Institute gather for the official conferment and handover ceremony in Lagos. This year's theme reflects on the growing importance of risk management in today's economic climate. Just before the handover, the outgoing president and chairman of the council reminds members of their commitment to the institute's values and professional excellence.
Your dedication to this risk management discipline will not only enhance your personal professional growth, but also contribute significantly to the resilience and success of the entities you serve. I want you to embrace this opportunity to become a beacon of knowledge and expertise in risk management, for the stakes have never been this higher.
Then, the 2021-2025 Governing Council is formally dissolved and a new era is ushered in, with the swearing-in of the 2025-2027 Governing Council and the official handover to the newly elected leadership. Before officially handing over, the outgoing president speaks highly of his successor.
Mr. President, I want to thank you, sir. Mr. Kevin, okay, you're a great man. And I also pledge my support to you. Call me, I will answer. Send me, I will go.
Taking over the reins, Executive Director and Chief Risk Officer at Fidelity Bank, Mr. Kevin Ugwoke gives his acceptance speech, sharing his vision for deeper engagement, professional development, and broader industry influence.
We will undertake a comprehensive review and overhaul of our certification frameworks. We will align our curricula with global best practices, incorporate emerging themes such as ESG, cyber risk, climate risk, geopolitical forecasting. We will deepen our engagement with the Nigerian Economic Summit Group, the Nigerian Governors Forum, and the National Assembly Committees on Finance, Oil and Gas, and Environment. We'll push for mandatory risk impact assessment, that's already part of our bill, for all major infrastructure and extractive sector projects, ensuring that risk governance is embedded at the planning stage and not treated as an afterthought.
Another key highlight of the event is the conferment of honors, 11 new fellows and 21 chartered risk managers, some of whom joined virtually, are formally inducted, marking a major step in their professional journey.
Well, that's it from the nation's capital. It's back to you, Ayo, for more on the news at 10.
Many thanks, Gloria. Time now for some business news with Dominic Iwiru. Dominic?
Thank you, Ayo. Welcome to Business News. In line with forecasts by financial derivatives company FDC, Nigeria's official headline inflation rate fell for the second consecutive month to 22.97% in May. According to data released today by the National Bureau of Statistics, the figure represents a 0.74% decline against the 23.71% recorded in April. Key highlights of the NBS report shows that food, which is a significant driver of overall inflation, fell further to 21.14%. Core inflation dropped to 22.28%, while urban and rural inflation also fell last month, mostly due to slowdown in the rate of food and utility prices. It's a negative start in the week for Nigeria's stock market as it ended Monday's trading session with a moderate pullback, which was largely driven by the banking sector of the NGX. Willie Bong tells us more.
Welcome to the stock market report. The NGX is starting the week with profit taking, and we can call it sell-offs, and this is largely in the banking stocks. The loss follows the new CBN directive ordering banks under regulatory forbearance to halt dividend payments, defer executive bonuses, and suspend offshore investments. And you can imagine this sends shockwaves, the ripple effect it had on the banking sector. Let's look at the big guys and see how much hit they had following the news. You see FBN Holdings down 6.03%, UBA also down 5.67%, GTCO unchanged in positive territory, though we don't know how much impact that will have tomorrow. Wait and see. Access Holdings, the outlier there, down 8.28%, and Zenith Bank down 6.37%. This definitely weighed on the banking sector, and we see the bears grip firmly on it as it closed down nearly 4% today, 3.98% to be precise, and profit taking in O&O. See that pullback in the oil and gas counter. Consumer goods seems to be spared from the bloodbath, but that was not enough to outweigh the losses as the all share index dipped today to close at 0.15%. The index is still at 115,000 despite the pullback, but we're hoping for a rebound tomorrow. And those are the highlights for today. Will Ibang signing out.
And that's it on Business News. Back to Ayotunde for the rest of the news at 10.
Welcome back. Israel has confirmed its attacks on Iran's state broadcaster during a live broadcast. Now, a statement from Defense Minister Israel Katz says the attack occurred after a large-scale evacuation of local residents, adding that Israel will strike the Iranian dictator wherever he is. Here's Sami Pius with more international news in Around the World in 5 from our London studio.
Good evening and welcome to the channel's studios here in London with your international news around the world in 5. Israeli airstrikes have been reported in Tehran as the Israeli military warns people in parts of the Iranian capital to evacuate. The IDF says people in parts of Tehran's District 3 should leave as it targets military infrastructure in the area. Here, extraordinary footage from the Iranian state TV channel, the Islamic Republic of Iran News Network, as it was hit by an airstrike. Debris falling into the studio during a live broadcast. Earlier, Israel said it had full aerial operational control over Tehran 4 days after launching strikes on the country. Iran has accused Israel of hitting a hospital in the west of the country. Officials say at least 19 people have been killed in Israel and 224 people in Iran since Friday, when the two countries began launching attacks.
Major Western countries provide Israel with military aid, financial aid. Even at the time of reconstruction, the Israelis will have the upper hand because they have access to financial resources that Iran does not. Meanwhile, Iran is under an arms embargo. It cannot replace its lost assets, and it would be very difficult for Iranians to replace anything. This conflict, unfortunately, has the capacity and potential to become a full, all-out war in the region.
A man has been arrested on suspicion of killing a Democratic state lawmaker and her husband after a 2-day manhunt in the U.S. state of Minnesota. The chase came to an end in a wooded rural area west of Minneapolis, where he surrendered peacefully and ended up crawling towards officers. Vance Luther Bolter is charged with killing Melissa Hortman, a Minnesota Democrat, and her husband Mark. State Governor Tim Walz called it a politically motivated assassination. He is also alleged to have shot and wounded Democratic State Senator John Hoffman and his wife Yvette, who are now both awake in hospital.
A moment in this country where we watched violence erupt. This cannot be the norm. It cannot be the way that we deal with our political differences. Now's the time for us to recommit to the core values of this country. And each and every one of us can do it.
Investigators have recovered the cockpit voice recorder from the crashed Air India flight, a key step in uncovering what caused last week's deadly accident. The London-bound Air India aircraft crashed soon after taking off on Thursday from the western Indian city of Ahmedabad. At least 270 people have been killed, most of them passengers. The CVR captures audio from the cockpit, including pilot conversations, alarms, and ambient sounds. The flight data recorder, which logs crucial flight parameters like altitude, speed, and engine performance, has already been recovered from the debris.
Of over-representation.
The UK Home Secretary Yvette Cooper says the government will make it a formal requirement for ethnicity and nationality data to be collected for all child sexual abuse cases. A report into sexual abuse carried out by grooming gangs in England and Wales says there was a collective failure to address questions about the ethnicity of grooming gangs. The report found the ethnicity of grooming gangs is shied away from and is still not recorded for 2/3 of perpetrators.
In the local data that the audit examined from 3 police forces, they identify clear evidence of over-representation among suspects of Asian and Pakistani heritage men. and she refers to examples of organisations avoiding the topic altogether for fear of appearing racist or raising community tensions.
And leaders of some of the world's wealthiest countries have descended on a luxury mountain lodge nestled in Canada's Rockies for this year's G7 summit. The elite gathering comes as Western allies face numerous crises, from conflicts on 3 continents to global economic instability. Canada chairs the G7 this year and will host leaders of Italy, the US, France, Germany, the UK and Japan in Alberta. It is Mark Carney's first major international gathering as Canadian Prime Minister.
And that's your international news around the world in 5. Now back to the channel's studios in Lagos.
Many thanks indeed, Simon, and welcome to Sports News. Newly appointed Director General of the National Institute for Sports, Felix Shaibu, has pledged to strategically reposition the institution to better serve the nation. Shaibu, who formally assumed office today after a handover ceremony in Lagos, conducted an inspection of the facilities, noting that some are in urgent need of rehabilitation.
I'm here this morning, and it's a lot of work to be done. We've gone around, you've gone around with me, you've seen the facility, the structure. It shows that those founding fathers actually had a vision for sports in Nigeria. And this facility that you have here, well put to use, can actually produce the athletes, coaches and athletes that can win laurels for Nigeria. But what is critical is that we need a total overhaul. The mandate given to me is to come here and carry out a major reform in line with the Renew Hope agenda of Mr. President.
Let's head to tennis now, where Dan Evans celebrated the best win of his career on grass after beating world number 13 Francis Tiafoe in the first round at the Queen's Club Championship. The 35-year-old kept his cool on the sun-baked Andy Murray Arena of the Queen's Club with the 7-5, 6-2 victory. It was the former's British #1 second career win over a top 20 opponent on grass, having knocked 16th ranked Nicolas Basilashvili out of Wimbledon 6 years ago.
He's done it. Dan Evans takes out.
Away from tennis now, La Liga side Sevilla has announced the appointment of former Argentine international Matias Almeidas as the club's new coach on a 3-year deal. The 51-year-old joined Sevilla after 3 seasons with the Greek side AEK Athens, where he won a league and cup double. He also had a spell in the Major League Soccer with the San Jose Earthquakes after coaching at River Plate and Banfield in his homeland. Other stories now, Ligue 1 club Nantes has appointed Portuguese boss Luis Castro as their new head coach for next season. The 45-year-old has signed a 2-year deal and leaves Dunkirk after taking the club to the second-tier playoffs and the French Cup semi-finals last season. Castro's Dunkirk led PSG 2-0 in the Cup last 4 clash before losing 4-2. He had been linked with a possible move to Brazilian giants Botafogo, currently playing in the Club World Cup earlier this year. That's sports. I'm Kelly Egiga. Is back to you today.
And the main news again. President Bola Tinubu today said he will visit Benue on Wednesday, June the 18th, to assess the crisis in the state. The president, who condoled with the government and people of the state while commissioning the Greater Abuja Water Project, explained that the visit is part of renewed efforts to address the persistent conflict affecting communities in Benue State. That's the news at 10 tonight. Thank you so much for watching. I'm Ayo Tunde. Have a good night.